What's going on, dudes?
What's up, buddy?
Oh,
Time,
not much,
time
man.
for some small talk.
Let's get in on some of this small talk. You want to? So
Yeah,
Nick Evans was supposed to join us today, but he must have had a wild party last night. So
you got some
he
shrimp on the Barbie.
he might. The gentleman from Australia. I like old Nick, dude. He's a good dude for sure.
Yeah.
But
No, maybe he's practicing his breakdancing.
that would have to you would have to toss it. So I saw a post the other day, and somebody had a sticker of that old girl, the old Olympic dancer, on the back of the car, and the rear windshield wiper was her legs, and they just,
Yeah.
dude, I was
Oh,
laughing. What's going on, Pooch? But
yeah, buddy, the drift puppy.
so right out the gate, man, I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody that our favorite distributors, and there's a few of them. So, Miko's for Driftaholics, Brad, RC Supremacy, the GT55 boys, like, man, stellar freaking customer service all the time. RC Portal for
Yeah,
here in Australia.
yeah. Heli
Who else?
Direct,
Wolfram, like,
Wolfram. Yeah, Heli Direct.
got, got
Micro Syndicate, Micro RC Syndicate.
huge, yeah, dude.
Um,
Got to send a thank you to all of them because without them, we would
oh,
be pretty
Mikos.
bored. I've already said. I said
Oh,
Miko.
you did. Oh, okay. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Miko's been doing me good here lately, man. He's been hanging on to important stuff that I really want before I can
Yeah,
actually pay for
exactly.
it. So he's been doing
Oh,
good.
nice. Yeah, yeah. No.
Yeah. He hit me up on that DLR8, and he's like, "Man, I'm holding it whenever you're ready." And I was like, "Oh, thank God! I thought I missed the boat." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, wife's about to hit the door, so I'm gonna mute, but you could kind of get our audience up to speed about why the hell we're doing this and all
yeah,
that other good
man.
stuff.
Here's the thing. So with the podcast, with the Sunday Sermon podcast, I'm not sure what's going on with it. But that being said, man, I think it's a void that needs to be filled. So we're just gonna get on here and talk about some small scale RCs and have a good time. And anybody that has any questions or wants to talk about a certain topic, I would love to have in guests. I'd love to have Mikos on. I'd love to have Brad on. I'd love to have quite a few people on and just you know shoot the shit and get with some small talk. Excuse my language, but yeah, man, like, it's a good thing. This is a good hobby filled with good people, and there's a lot to talk about. That's all I can say. A lot of small talk. But Dwight and I were just talking briefly before we hit the record button, and we were
All right.
kind of touching on the GT55 V5 gyro. Man, super good gyro. If any of you guys out there haven't tried them, it's a
Yeah.
must. Like, I won't put anything else in mine. From here on out,
Yeah.
that's what's going in mine. They have recently come out with colors. There's one of
Yeah.
the reds. Here's
Yeah.
one of the purples, which just makes it that much cooler. And I mean, look at how cleaned up that goes. Like, man, that's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
awesome, man. It just
Yeah, it's a
cleans the whole
two-in-one
thing up.
setup. It's got the receiver, it comes in three different protocols. You got Sanwa, Futaba, and our favorite Noble NB4. You can get them naked without the alloy cover, and now they've had the forethought to get them in the anodized colors, every color of the normal rainbow. So
It's
yeah,
cool
I'm
too.
really
Like
happy with that.
with this red one too. They did the plug-in ports in red plastic. Man,
Oh wow,
such a good touch, dude. Such a good touch.
dang, yeah, no, see, it's the little things that count,
It does.
especially in the small scale.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
These small
go ahead.
scales have got my heart. They've got my
Yeah,
heart. That's all I can say.
yeah, I'm glad that we're doing this. If you were doing it on with any other people, I know that I would be invited to join at any time and so forth. So, I don't, there's no conflicts of interest in any of that. We're just a bunch of guys that like small scale driving, mainly drifters, but hey, in this small talk series, we're going to be talking about just about all of our little small scale passions, everything from our from crawlers to scalers to little bashers, whatever
Yeah.
is gonna draw more people into RC in general. That's what I'm all about. I mean, RC
Huge, yeah.
saves lives, ruins budgets. It's it'll do it all, man. It'll do it all.
Ramen noodles
It,
are not that bad for supper. You just a
no,
little take
no,
a
for
little getting
sure.
used to it, but
But you're gonna learn a lot, I mean, you gotta solder, a lot of these people, ever since that big old thing that happened not so long ago, they don't really have a lot of hobby shops around, they got
man,
to learn how to solder or set something up and so forth. So, if that's you, if any of that describes you, you got a massive interest in this, then hey, you don't have to wait for these small talks to come out. You can hit me up on
hit me up
Facebook, you
too.
can hit me up
Same,
on Instagram, WhatsApp. I mean, I do it all. I'm
same
really
here.
into it. I was just like you. Um, many years ago, wanting to really get deep and get involved, but man, I just really had no clue, so I made a lot of decisions which I thought were great decisions at the time, just to find out that I didn't really need all that, or
Right.
I bought the wrong stuff, or whatever the case may be. So if you're trying to avoid all that,
Yeah.
by all means, learn from my bad mistakes, or
You're a
my poor
very
decisions.
crucial member of the community in the fact that you've been there, you've done that, and you've got a ton of experience with it, and you've got the knowledge to go along with it. Like you and I were discussing about these gyros the other day, and I was asking, I've noticed that like when I turn my gyros sideways like
Right,
this,
right.
they I tend to have a little bit more of a gain I have to turn mine up to get what I feel like is the exact same effect if I turn it that way.
Right,
And
so the
you were
different
kind of,
orientation. Yeah.
yeah, maybe touch on that a little bit because I liked the way you explained it to
Like what
me.
we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
man.
gyros aren't new to RC by any means, but they're pretty crucial to micro drifting. That being said, the gyros that we have access to are not the same type. I'm not going to say not the same quality. I would say that the gyros, especially the V5, is probably about some of the highest quality gyros you can get on a surface vehicle, right? But outside of something like a drone gyro, and again, what I'm about to say is my belief. This is my belief, and this is based upon what Jeff was alluding to, where oh, look at this guy.
Phillips.
You're
He
in a
just
little bit
woke
late
up.
here.
Nice.
Go
What's
ahead.
up, Nick?
Get,
Yeah,
y'all,
I
this
bet.
on the bottom, we've got the gentleman from Australia, son Nick
Yeah,
Evans.
he's in the future.
He is
In
in
the
the future.
future.
He is in the future. So go ahead. Go ahead. What was you saying?
Yeah, so hey Nick, how you doing? Just
Then we
oh,
lost him.
he popped out. Yeah. No, he got a little scared, man. So, but
I'll get him back.
so what Jeff was saying is that when he orients his V5 gyro in from one axis to another axis, let's say he just moves it that 90 degrees, so let's say it's facing forward in one instance, and then another instance is facing sideways. Why? It's of no real consequence. So because it doesn't matter why, that's just the way it is, and that's what he's trying to do. But he says that, hey, the gyro gain that I'm applying to this is way less in one instance than it is on the other, right? So even though it has multiple access, and what I mean is AXIS, not
Yeah.
ACCESS. All right. So it has multiple accesses. They may not be equal access. All
Right.
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 Um, a uh, a stunt drone or a racing drone would have a 6 axis with all axis being equal axis, because it just doesn't know how it's going to find itself in space, that
Right.
it's trying to navigate. It wouldn't surprise me if these gyros that we do have, let's say in our case, a 5 axis style setup, but they may not be equal in access length or bandwidth length
Right.
on
Right.
certain accesses. All
Makes
right,
sense.
so that may be, and again, that's just a guess of why you have to use more gain facing in one orientation and less gain in the other, right?
Because they
And
feel
so
the
that,
same. The
yeah.
feel of them is the same to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell when normally if I would turn this one that's sideways, if I turn it up to 50, dude, I would get gyro jitters like crazy. So I know
Right.
it's not that. So I can turn one up to 50 when it's turned a certain way, and I'm getting the same effect as the other one turned to 30. So yeah.
Yeah, and just to kind of put a bookend, or at least allow people to understand how much flexibility they have with these gyros, especially the V5. Everything we're talking about right now is strictly that V5 gyro. I mean, that's the state of the art. That's where everyone's
See
at
it.
right now. I think it's money well spent. I mean, it's $20 more than the V3 or what have you, but I'm telling you, it's like 5 times better than anything else out there. Um, I mount well, at least on the past couple builds that I've done, I've mounted the gyro, the V5 upside down and hidden. Um, and it works great. The only kicker or the only caveat to that is that when you're setting your gyro endpoints, which is very important, you have to basically, instead of turning it to the left initially, you turn it to the right,
You have to
because the
trick the
gyro,
system.
once I invert it,
Yep.
when I'm setting it up, it's in its normal configuration because I still got to be able to hit the buttons and so forth.
Yep.
But since I know I'm going to end up inverting it, if when you're setting up your endpoints on your gyro, you initially turn left, and that will keep the gyro in its normal non-reversed setup.
Yep.
Okay. If you ever do need to reverse the gyro, not necessarily because you're inverting it or just the way that it's not playing nice, you would turn the wheel to the right, and that would reverse it. So it's a very easy gyro. I mean, you could set that whole thing up in under 2 minutes,
Yep.
and you're just going to be slaying. So, but when I'm setting mine up, I have it bolted to the ESC tray in its normal configuration. But since I know I'm gonna, after the operation, end up turning it upside down and hiding it, I actually reverse it right then and there. And it's great.
And that's
Continuing on,
awesome.
since we're just talking about setting it up, and we'll let Nick pop in here and say a couple words, because we love that accent, baby.
Shoot, yeah, dude.
So,
That's
um,
it's a
but
lovely accent.
Well, when you're setting up these V5s, and this may be just normal for all gyros, but again, just strictly talking about the V5. If you were looking at your steering servo and it's set up on your display, and let's say we're using the Noble in this example, if your steering trims were set at 0, that you would have both left and right trims fully available to you. Okay.
Hmm.
When you're setting up a car, let's say you got yourself a baddie like the DLR8 right here. You grab your Noble and you're gonna create an identity for that chassis. You're gonna go into model create. You're gonna name it DLR8. Then you're gonna back out of that. You're gonna go to your channel assign, which is on your second screen. And then once you see a channel designation or channel assign, whatever they're calling it nowadays, you would open up that screen, and then you would select one of the 3 available knobs. There are 2 ratcheted knobs that are right there on the grip, and there's one rotary knob, which will be in your upper left-hand corner. So you could see the 2 right there below it. Those are ratchet style. And the one that we were alluding to a second ago, that's
You've also
just a
got them on
nice,
the you've
smooth
also got them
knob,
on the other side too.
Yeah, exactly. If you're right
Yeah.
or left-handed, it's just such a great radio. For the money, can't be beat.
Yeah.
These are all
Right.
opinions. So anyway, so you go to channel assign, you select one of those 3 options, and then once you select it, it'll ask you what channel do you want this switch to control, and in this case, you would select channel 3. There's really nothing else left to do. There are other features on there, but if you select any of those other features, you'll kind of, you won't get that experience. You could change it from a ratchet style to an on-off type of thing, which is not appropriate for the gyro. So yeah, you just select it and then you back out of it. So then after you do all that, you go to your home screen, you back all the way out, and you're looking at it, and then whatever channel or whichever knob or switch. You can even use the trim switches. There's
Yeah.
just and numerous switches that you could do, but I like any number of those three. You could rotate that, and you'll see on channel 3 on your display, you'll see that the trim LED will move in such accordance of whatever direction you're moving it to. Okay, so if it's at 0 on channel 3, unlike the steering servo, if it's at 0, you still have full steering. If it's at 0 on channel 3,
I don't know if I can even show anybody this, but
yeah, see, yeah, there you go. I see it.
going
Exactly.
from positive to negative too.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a
So if it's
difference.
at 0 on channel 3, the gyro is off. Okay, the gyro would be completely off. The only difference between the positive gain and the negative gain is a feature that they have built into that gyro called fast return and slow return. So depending on your driving style, and again, with drifting and micro drifting is particularly, you could do it any which way but loose. I mean, whatever your pleasure, all right? Whatever you like, that's fine. No one is here to tell you you're doing it wrong or nothing.
Nope.
You know, there's ways to do it better,
Yep.
right? But he ain't doing it wrong, all
If
right?
it works for you out there,
Yeah, if
keep
it
doing
works
it
for
by all
you,
means.
hey, you know what? Show me. That's cool. All right. But in this case, and again, I'm not too sure, but let's just say that if you're turning it and it goes to the negative values, and that would be 0 to 100, I believe. All
Yep.
right.
Yep.
But any of those things right there, that would be the slow return.
Yep.
Meaning that once your gyro is done and you're steering and it's coming back, it's going to come back slowly. On the other side of the spectrum, it'll just snap right back. Personally, I like the fast return.
I do too.
And it's so easy to access either one of those two features by simply just, let's say you're rocking a 30 or 40 gain on your fast return. You know what? Let's see what slow return's like. You could just transfer right over to 40 gain on the slow side, and then you can just see how you like it, you know? I do like the fast return because I slow down my steering through the radio.
Yep.
And again, the gyro is just another device that runs congruently, but in parallel, but it is completely segregated outside of the radio system, right? So I like to slow down my steering, at least the return on my steering. I'll use Expo or Exponential, EXP. I'll use Expo. Yeah. And
So
you gotta,
you can also program the servos though, but you're saying you can also do this through the controller if you have like a node.
yeah, I have never used the servo programmer.
Never been opened.
I've
I'm
got
on it.
dozens of them. I've just now that's not to say that you don't need them. I have read some horror stories where the servo or whatever the electronic suite that they had wasn't plug and play.
Yeah.
And whatever they needed it, it's got buffering in there, it's got the servo speed, it's got all sorts of great features. The fact that I haven't used it or Jeff hasn't used it doesn't mean that it's not necessary. It's just that
Right.
I couldn't speak to it because I haven't needed it yet. Okay.
Yeah,
I
me
haven't
neither.
gotten into that situation.
I had to use one, sorry, if I could just butt in for a second. I had to use one on my Atomic, the MS.
Yeah.
Running an RNG servo and it jitter all the time. I couldn't stop it. So yeah, I bought the specific program card just for that servo.
Yeah.
Just to calm it down and turn the sensitivity down a bit and turn the dampening. I don't think it's quite all the way up, but it's about 3/4 of the way, and it calmed right down. So
good.
I couldn't get it to settle otherwise. So
shoots, yeah.
So to that point, again, sometimes the electronics, they don't play nice with each other. It's just one of those things. You'll run into a situation, and then hey, you can reach out to any person on this line, almost any. If the sun's up and not we're down, don't even matter. You're gonna get one of us for sure. We're gonna help you out. We're gonna get it figured out.
Yeah. Might have to get a set time and a schedule together anymore to kind of sit down, because a lot of things are easier to diagnose and fix on a video call or whatnot, and you got to have some time to sit down in front of things and kind of but anyways.
But yeah, and so to that point, when it comes to radio setups, which I think this is our little small talk setup. We ran a little late today, but we're definitely going to have a longer one, but if this is the kind of content that you like, if this is the kind of vibe that you're into, then hey, I mean, it's just a couple of people here just chopping it up, just trying to
Shit,
have
yeah.
some fun and do your thing.
If
But
any of you guys out there want to get on and come on too and talk, man, I'm up for it. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of great members in these groups that,
yeah,
man, like there's a wealth of knowledge in here. You could be a straight beginner and never know anything. And let me tell you something, these small scale drifters especially are unlike any other RC I've ever done. The build, the how they drive, like these things are just their own entity. You cannot compare these things to 10 scale other than like your steering geometry.
price.
Your steering
Other than
geometry. You know what I'm
price.
saying? Your steering geometry is gonna be you're looking for the same thing. You're looking for your same acronym, this, that, and the other. But as far as like the build and these things are crazy sensitive to weight. You can't just set one of these things up without the body on it.
Yeah.
Lord, I've had different batteries change how they
Yeah,
drive. Just
or even the battery wires. If you have one that has just an excess of battery
yep.
wires, and I have to, yeah. And so again,
But you can do.
it's
But what I was getting
ultimately
at is you can.
rewarding.
What I was getting at is like if you
Yeah,
guys are brand new to this and you guys are interested in doing this, in these groups is a wealth of knowledge that will help you.
Mm.
All these guys are great. Everybody on this screen, 100%. I talk to you guys all the time, but we'll get in here and we'll help you. We'll help you get this thing going, man, and create this disease in your house, and then you'll have tons of them like we will, and you'll be
yeah,
hooked
yeah.
on it.
Yeah, they just they pop up everywhere, man, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just light and easy, no real issues, per se.
Nick, what you
We
got?
were
Nick, what you got going? What you got
yeah,
going on right now?
what's going on, man?
What have you been building?
So we all know about the Meta X. It's
Yep.
released, big debut. You and I have been chatting about that for a fair while now.
Yeah. It's
It is what it is.
it's a good
Did you get
chassis.
yours yet?
What do what
Did
now?
you
It
get yours
is.
yet, Nick?
Yeah.
Did you
Sorry.
get yours? Did you get your Meta
Yeah,
X's yet?
yeah. Mine's built. I've built mine. Started
Oh,
tuning
nice.
it somewhat, but I don't have a body assigned for it yet. But I had a tinker with an R32 GTR with a wide body on it, but it's just the rear end of that thing can't be widened at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you got
It's
one
got one
tube.
step. I think it's got one step, and then you would have to do it with offset, which is kind of
Yeah,
disappointing. If I'm
yeah.
honest, it's kind of disappointing. The overall length of it is kind of disappointing too. It doesn't seem
That's
like it
another
has
thing
as
that
much versatility as maybe the last one that they put out.
no,
Great
no, it
chassis,
doesn't.
I'm
I think that's
sure.
great too. They've
Honestly,
done.
I can't fathom. I mean, look, there's a reason. Who knows? I'm not here to speculate too much, but just considering, the Meta V1, the Meta X is,
I think
it's
that's what we're
not.
all comparing it to, the V1, and it just doesn't. For me, it's not the same.
Yeah, no, the
I
V1 with
agree.
the adjustable arms, rear arms,
Yeah,
the machining quality and so forth. I think that the Meta, V1 is still the prize of
yeah,
the Meta lineup or the TRC lineup. I'm lucky enough to have a TRC, V2. But I'll probably never street that thing. I mean, there's no support parts for it. Not like I would drop it, God forbid, but it's just one of those things. It's like a museum piece to me.
I
yeah.
agree.
But
I put a post up
but
not
the
too
but
long
the
ago saying the same thing. I feel like I own a piece of micro drifting history. You know what I'm saying? Owning
Even
that.
Yeah,
just with the
no, for
blue one.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
So,
DLR8 though, thank God that came out because
oh man, mine should
it's
be here
just
Tuesday, I think, and I'm so excited.
yeah.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah,
you'll
well,
Talking
like
about
it, Nick. You'll really like it.
this
You'll probably
is
go through the same like thought process as I did building it. Like I was very, let's say I was skeptical about how the arms are attached to the chassis. When I
yeah,
mm,
you
first
mentioned
saw
that
the
in our chat.
instructions and
Yeah,
stuff, I was like, I don't know about this because you guys know how much trouble you can sometimes have with like ball cups and ball studs,
yeah,
and
yeah.
having to put the pliers on it to soften them up and stuff. So I was kind of like, I don't know about it, but I've got it together. I've drifted it, and MA killed it. They absolutely killed
Yeah.
it. It's a fantastic chassis. I think also this Meta X dropping at the same time as this DLR8. I think it. I think that kind of hurts it a little bit too, to be honest, because this
Yeah.
DLR8 is just such a monster, dude. It is such a good chassis. Like MA did it again. That's all I can say. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I
Yeah.
said, the only reason I purchased it initially was, and I was going to sit out on that one, because I've got the D24. But one of the things that swayed me was that it was gears, not belts. So,
Yeah.
and I've been on the fence about it for quite some time. And then with that, we got the NES 64s off Herzl. He couldn't actually ship mine to me because of the batteries. And I live in technically, a remote area. So he had
You
to
and
ship
me
them to
both.
my guy in Melbourne, RC Portal, Simon Lamb. And he done me the big favour of, receiving the goods and then shipping them back out to me. So,
Nice. Shout out to
Shout out to
Simon,
sort of
Simon.
RC
Simon's a good
Portal.
dude, man.
shout
I
out
like him.
Simon. Like, yeah, he's a legend of a dude, and he'll do anything for the hobby. Like, he's a good guy. And I consider him a close friend. And so on that note, I actually purchased the DLR8 through Simon and some other goodies like the new JSK1 Drift Art light kit,
Yeah.
etc. And he's posted them out to me, so he's express posted them, so I should have them by Tuesday.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
nice.
So,
Yeah, you're gonna like that. Have you messed with the DA4, the Drift Hard 4?
yeah, I've done a conversion on one of my DA3Ss.
Yeah, nice.
It's nice. It's
Yeah,
nice.
it's a very I mean, when they say conversion, it's almost like it's a little, it's like buying a car in the newspaper, you know. It's like, oh, it just needs a little bit of mechanical gone through. But man, I'm
Yeah,
telling you, I got a stack of bag hangers that I saved off of that build, man. That thing's got to be like this thick, you know. It's but
And
it's
then you
such a
think
great
about people like
chassis.
Slideways too, though, that's went a step further and had you anodize that. Oh my gosh, that thing
Oh,
looks so good, dude.
oh, the red one. Yeah,
Dude,
yeah. No,
Tools
that's,
yeah,
R&D is pumping out some cool stuff right now. That's all I can say, man. Like
I
you are
appreciate that.
absolutely crushing it when it comes to stuff, man. Like so, like maybe like getting into like some of the stuff like the Cerakote. I wasn't necessarily a fan of all the time, but it
Hmm.
works on some. You know what I'm saying? But like,
Yeah.
dude, that anodizing and some of this stuff you've been,
yeah.
dude, that
It's
purple
nice.
friggin' DWX. Oh my gosh, dude! Like,
Yeah, yeah, that was a risky business right there, you know,
dude,
because
that's
there's not
special.
many of
That's
those
some special
chassis out
stuff
there in
right
the
there.
world, you know. Yeah, and yeah, you know the that red drift dart, you know, it's just one of those things, you know. I want to be honest, you know, because I like telling stories, you know, but so it turns out that and again, this is not against drift art, you know, he doesn't make the metal that it's made out of, right?
Right.
So that drift dart, that red one, was anodized and re-anodized 3 separate times
Ooh.
because we were
Yeah, wow.
having the facility that I use, and I've been using these guys for 20 plus years, you know, I've been in motorcycle business and yada yada and restorations and so forth. So these are the only guys in the area. You know, they do chroming, they do nickel plating, they do it all, right? But anodizing is their forte. And the guy would call me up and say, "Hey, listen, man, we got some problems with this chassis." And I'm like, "Oh God, not the purple one, right?" He's like, "No, no, that's perfect. Yeah, you can pick that up now, but you got to come in here and check out this red one, man. I don't know what's going on with this." And I'm like, "What?" So I'd show up, he'd show me the red. I'm looking at it, and I mean, it was dog shit, man. I mean, it had this thing to where it had this corruption to it, where there was something that was kind of leaching out
Hmm.
of the base metal that was corrupting the red anodizing process.
Oh no.
And I'm like, well, you know, again, you know, I'm not an anodizer, but I'm a machinist and so forth. I said, well, maybe the tank is corrupted. He goes, you know, that's what we thought, but look at these parts. Another customer, you know, they're dipping them all at the same time. He said, look at these. And I'm like, wow, yeah, those look fantastic. I wish my parts looked like that. So I said, he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I mean, I mean, look, the only failure is not an option generally in my book. I like to ride things to the dirt,
Amen.
go down with the ship kind of thing. And Slidewich is such a nice guy. I said, well,
Yeah.
I said, do me a solid, man. Can you just re-anodize it? He said, yeah, because, they want to stand behind their work as well. So he's like, yeah, we're going to re-anodize it, right? I said, fine, yeah, you re-anodize it, which is, again, it's a brutal process on the materials, because
Yeah.
you're chemically etching this process off of it and so forth.
Yeah.
So, long story short, without him telling me anything, they had re-anodized it, stripped it, re-anodized it, stripped it, re-anodized 3 total times in addition to the original time. So it was re-anodized 4 separate times. And what he was doing was
Yeah.
cutting his losses on each process where that parts count on that kit, let's say, is like 30 to 40 pieces, let's say. 10 would be great. He'd put those to the side, the other one. So he would just whittle it down, whittle it down, whittle it down. And then through that, he got what we have there, right? But, being a perfectionist, like myself, it's not that you have to be a perfectionist. It's just, you want something as good as you could do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
about perfection. The only perfect person is God. All right.
Absolutely. Amen.
So, and so you just aspire to that. But there were some things physically about the process that I wasn't too happy with. I certainly knew that I couldn't put my name on said product.
Right.
So I said, you know what I'm going to do to get past this? I'm going to just start polishing these areas that lend themselves to polishing, because that car has a lot of prime surfaces.
Yeah.
Like on the RGB and gearbox, as an example, it's got these huge alabaster flat sides. And I'm like, you know what? Put that thing. I mean, I got a garage that'll turn your aunt into your uncle. Okay. So I got some 3000 grit polishing disc, and I'm just like polishing the anodizing off of it by hand. Every single one of those pieces is hand polished. I just scrutinized the piece, looked at what I wasn't too comfy with, and basically, well, the final result is kind of like what you saw there. Honestly, I love it. I think it's
I do too,
a
dude. It's a really good
real,
look.
yeah, it's just it's the only one in the world. He's more than thrilled with it. I was more than thrilled with it. I probably got about 80 hours into that,
Shit.
which it's only
Mm.
because of the passion. It's the passion.
Yeah, because you weren't in that to
It
make money, because you probably lost
Yeah, no,
money
I
on
don't
that
make
deal.
money on none of this stuff, man. I should,
I don't
I
think anyone
mean it,
does.
but it's like,
Well,
look, I
you'll
do
start
build
getting into
chassis
this.
for people,
Yeah, you'll start
but
getting into
yeah.
this where you'll just be too deep. Like, there's only so much somebody's going to pay for it. Like, I get exactly what you're saying. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like
Like,
all
but
those Cerakote chassis, I mean, all the money went directly, every dime went directly to our Cerakote guy.
yeah.
Real, I can't mention his name. He doesn't want to be famous. But yeah, he's super meticulous kind of person.
Oh, they look great. They absolutely look
And
great. If they
they were
only made
400
Cerakote
bucks.
in a bright color, if they only
Yeah.
made Cerakote in any other color that wasn't like a flat, I would be sold.
Yeah, and that's just one of those things, Cerakote, for those, who may not be familiar with Cerakote is like a ceramic based. It comes in a lot of different versions, but the version we were using was the real deal, the stuff that they use on firearms and so forth. You have
Yeah.
to oven cure it. They have an air cured version, which isn't as robust, but this was straight up like, the real deal stuff and
It's similar.
applied
It's
by
similar to powder coating,
yeah,
as far as
it
that
is very
goes.
similar, but
Yeah.
it's a lifetime coating. Um,
Yeah. Super
it is
tough.
on there.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
Super
saying. It is
tough.
on there, and it doesn't rust, and it wouldn't because it's aluminum. But to Jeff's point, it leaves this kind of eggshell matique kind of finish to it, which, at least in my case, because I did an all white one, and I just love the way it comes out. It photographs well. We did a really nice blue one. I did a green alligator
So
style
that was
one for
the green
Joseph.
alligator. The green alligator for Quinn, I think, was the one that finally kind of spun me around. like, oh, okay, that's not bad. I
Yeah.
like that
And then we
because
did one for Mike Montgomery, I believe. We did like a pine green or forest green. It's like a mint green, and that also looks fantastic. But
yeah,
all truth be told, that's a $400 price, period. And then you want the laser etching and the other stuff. I mean, it's just another $50, $50, $50. So, that wouldn't be for everybody. That would just be for some, very particular people. Everyone who owns one is a very special person to me, regardless of how things all shook out. But the point is that, you know, it's not sustainable as any sort of business model because, you take a $400 chassis, you add another $500, that's $900 just in chassis. You add your electrics and you're ready, your $1,500 car, Now, mind you, you got one in the world, but so the anodizing is a lot more cost effective. You'll be out of pocket probably about $150, maybe 200 at the max. If I had to get
man, that's
more
cool. That's
into the
cool for what you get too, dude. Like if
yeah,
you
because
end up,
I could do any
yeah,
car or truck. I could do your crawlers. Anything alloy is fine with me. The only issue that you'll run into with that is if it came right off of the machine and has never been anodized and is still kind of bright and shiny from that machining operation, then you will get a very nice, bright, shiny anodonic finish. But if it has to be stripped and re-anodized, you will get kind of a flattish kind of look. But again, some people, and I could never anticipate what people really like. Like I'll show them one car, oh, that's great, it comes flat like that because I like that. And I'm like, oh, okay,
yep.
well, dang, all right, cool. Well, then you're gonna be a happy guy. You know what I'm saying? So but
Maybe the
polishing it
arc
is just not
edge,
even an option.
may- maybe
I
the
took
arc
a
edge would be a
chassis.
good one.
Well, yeah, no, I could do those edges. And look, I spent a lot of time on slideways. Um, you know, it comes to a point to where I would never be able to get out what I had put in,
Yeah,
in something like that. But look, if we're vibing, if you're a friend of mine or gonna be a friend of mine or whatever, look, I want everyone happy. I mean, what else am I gonna do? Do taxes? I don't think so. So I'll make something nice. It'll definitely be unique. If it passes through my hands, it's going to be as good as I can do it. And every single one I
You
build
Florida
is going
boys
to
are
be.
wild. So like you got, I
Yeah.
don't know, you're the wild card. You guys are, y'all are kind of like a whole different country. Florida is.
Oh, did I show you my airboat? I put a wood chipper on it.
Uh,
Yeah. Grandpa said it
I
would
think
come in
that's why
handy.
the southern United States gets along so well with Australia too. Like me and Nick have talked about this. Like very similar in a lot of aspects. Southern rednecks
Yeah.
and Australian rednecks. Like I think we could all hang out and party and be just fine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I haven't met
100%.
anyone that walks the earth that I can't really get along with, man. That's just the way I am, because I've traveled, and I always tell people, you travel and, you bring your bad habits to another country and I don't recommend it. You're going to end up in a dumpster somewhere,
Hey,
because that's just
you're talking about going to Indonesia here. Hopefully
in
here,
January. Yeah. I mean, that's the
man.
plan. I'm trying to manifest those positive vibes. I mean, there's a lot of ways to get Muhammad to the mountain in that regard. We'll see how Christmas and my birthday sets me up, but it's just a plane ticket, Al Kilimanjaro, Ramalak and those other guys.
You give Al Kilimanjaro a big old giant hug and a sloppy kiss for me when you see him,
Well,
dude. I like
whatever
that.
their
I like
social
that cat.
norms are, like I said, I'm not trying to, they're not drinkers, they're not anything quite like what we're doing,
They're
but man,
still
they
cool though.
drift. It's like a religion over there, and yeah, I hope to bring a lot of positivity, hope to learn a lot. I'm going to bring. I don't even know if I could even bring batteries with me. I just don't know. I'm just
Right.
gonna try to bring like 2 or 3 chassis, a couple support parts, my radio, and just try to do the damn thing, just have a good time. I got this really cool on our next talk. I'll show you this little pocket translator that I got. I mean, it's sick, man. I mean, this thing has got it all. You smell? Yeah, I know. All
Uh,
right, well, listen,
yeah,
I got
man.
some company coming over and whatnot. Nick, good to see you, man. I'm glad you
Yeah,
made
you
it.
too. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
we're
think,
better
gonna
I
late than
think,
definitely
never.
have some more of these talks, but we'll get really into it. I got some projects here, going off. I mean, who doesn't? So, we'll talk. We'll
Yeah.
vibe.
I
We'll have a
got you.
good
Hey,
time,
listen,
man.
I think me and Nick might hang out for just a second and talk about one
Yeah,
more
yeah.
thing. We
Perfect.
talked about
Even better,
something
man.
yesterday. I definitely want to talk about because I have been humbled by the micro drift gods. So,
Oh, yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
but
That'll
anyways,
happen.
brother
All
Dwight,
right. Well, listen,
have
I'll
a good
leave you guys
afternoon,
to
brother.
it. You guys have a good one, Nick.
You too, mate.
Learn breakdancing, man. I'm telling you, bro. You guys got it, man. Shit. You see you in the
The
Olympics. All right,
Australian
baby.
team.
All right,
Well,
man.
what
See
was
you
the
guys.
name?
That's his sister. You didn't even know that.
No, hey.
I'm just kidding.
I'll
Just
talk
kidding.
to you guys, man. All right.
See,
Have a
see
good
you,
See
one out
you,
brother.
there, people.
Good
All
talk,
right.
bro.
See
See
you.
you, man.
Cheers.
bye. Bye.
Bye.
Uh, let's see here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
man. So
look at the old breakdancing efforts from the Australian Olympics, and I'm thinking to myself, that's got to be a piss take.
she was pretty rough though. She like like and I didn't watch any Olympics. I ain't gonna lie. Like I can't get into it, man. It just the current state of the world is a little insane to me right now, and I just quit watching TV about 2 years ago, and I've been a pretty happy camper because of it. So
Yeah, look, I don't watch anything standard either. I watch the movies and TV shows on Netflix and Stan and stuff like that. But
shoot, yeah. So so
yeah,
so did your dad find him a battery?
no. So he went and bought. I think I mentioned to you maybe he actually found from Miniware the rechargeable variant of that soldering iron with the
Oh,
station and all the yeah. So I as soon as he showed me, actually he ordered it and it only took 3 days to get here.
oh, shoot,
So
So,
yeah,
so
true to eBay's word, it
so
was
for everybody out there that are kind of wondering what we're talking about, okay. So Nick and I had this conversation the other day, and I told Nick I wanted to kind of bring this up and talk to everybody about it because, man, like you can think you know everything, and you can get
yeah.
really confident on stuff, and be humbled by the world or whatever. You can be really really humbled by this stuff. Uh, I don't know if anybody else noticed, but my my battery here. I'm going to plug my phone in. My DLR 8 has a purple motor and a purple ESC on it right now. Well, it didn't used to. It used to have the Enzo set up. Well, I put up a post bragging about how awesome the solder job was, this, that, and the other, and I'll be darned, my first battery driving it around, one of the wires popped off the ESC and fried it. So
Yeah,
humbled,
not good.
humbled, not good at
Yeah.
all. So now I did put the blue motor on the MA 1.5, which is going to be the bullet build. But
That's
you
nice.
you were talking about the soldering iron and your dad. Tell us that story, dude. That was awesome.
So going back to the days of the Sunday sermon in Small Scale Drifters, I used to watch it pretty religiously. There's a segment on soldering, and Chris Lewis might have held it up in front of the camera and said, "This little thing's the best thing." It was the
Mhm.
TS 101, I think, from Miniware. So I'm looking at this thing going, and I just assumed straight off the top of my head, shit, that's a rechargeable battery powered soldering iron, right? So upon purchasing the little NES 64 chassis, I got one, and then my dad actually took Dom Brett's allocation because he didn't want it.
Yeah.
So I seen it because he wanted one before but missed out. So got one for Dad. Anyway, I thought, shit, we're going to need something pretty compact with a sharp, pointy tip. That's cool. And I showed him, so he jumped straight on it. He purchased it straight away, the TS 101, without question. Anyhow, it turned up in the mail. It took forever. Turned up in the mail. We've opened it at work on our break, and we were like, "Damn, this thing's cool! Like, turn it on," and it wouldn't power up.
No.
And we were like, "Oh, maybe the battery's like dead out of the package, right?" So he goes, "It's okay. I'll take it home and I'll charge it up and see how it goes, see if it's any good." So as soon as I seen it, I went, "Shit, that's cool. I'm gonna buy one." So I bought one there and then on the spot, right? So I was having a chat with a couple of the other Australian boys in our chat, and I'm like, "How cool are those soldering irons?" Like, and then Simon from RC Portal was actually like, "Yeah, you can run them off a lipo." And I was like, that's cool, but like, why would you want to run it off a LiPo when it's got its own onboard battery, you know? And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, they're rechargeable. And he goes, no, they're not. He goes, well, where the fuck are you going to put a battery in that thing? It's tiny. And I was like, far out. So,
And you've got your dad
and
over there
then,
trying to plug this thing in and charge it.
so
Oh, that's good
then
stuff, man.
so it gets better. I got to work. I think it was maybe the next day. Anyway, my dad, so I work for my dad. So he pulled me up and he said, you know, I've got a bone to pick with you. And I said, yeah, great, what have I done? And so he goes, if I'm correct, he goes, I don't think that soldering iron is battery powered. And as halfway through his sentence, I was like, I know, far out. I'm so sorry. Like I made you dive in to buy one. I said, but if it makes you feel any better, I bought one as well. And he's just like, you an idiot. So, and then he goes, I did find the rechargeable version, and he goes, it's like $300. So I was like, shit, that's a lot of money. Anyway, he showed me a look. It came that day, and I was like, damn, that thing's cool. So yeah, I found a code, you know, and bought it a bit cheaper than what he paid for it. But yeah, you got to look before you leave.
We're gonna have to have Stephen. Okay, I'll be honest. I've gotten better at soldering. I was terrible at it. It definitely helps to have the right soldering tool. You don't have to spend
100%.
a ton of money, but definitely the smaller tip, and you know, there's some tricks to it. And we need to have somebody like I tell you, Stephen Fest. Love the dude. He actually dropped one little tip to me that just changed my whole soldering experience. And you know, with the flux and his, you know, he'll dip in that flux over and over and over. He'll double dip, triple dip. It really does help. And we'll have to have in future episodes. We'll have to have little segments where we do stuff like that, and maybe even invite
Little
people
demos and
on
stuff.
and have them kind of doing demonstration of how they do stuff. And like, yeah, man, we got so many good people in the hobby. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah.
And the soldering
Going back to
transfers over to everything. It transfers over to any kind of RC hobby that you'd want to get into. So yeah, man, stuff like
100%.
that. Painting.
It used to scare me, to be honest
I'd love
with
to
you.
have Spirit Project on to talk about stuff about like painting and stuff. I said that dude is killing it right now.
Yeah.
I'm scared to even mention his
he's
name
good.
in a post because I'll end up getting kicked off. But
Yeah, no, his paint jobs are unreal. They're next level for sure.
And then you and I are over here just busting out like patina jobs by accident and going, yeah, I love
Doing
it.
the best we can.
Hey man, there's some pretty iconic pieces have come out of that. Your S13 is just every time I see it, I'm just like, oh, I want it.
It's nice. It worked out well actually. And I think that the reason why that patina effect looks so good on it is because of how, like I was talking to one of the other Aussie guys the other day, and he was painting like a, you know, an iridescent, like a pearl paint job on one of his bodies that he's just built. And I'm like, oh, what's your process? And I think he just done it over a white base. And I was like, oh, okay, that's not how I do it, but you know, and I think it was a Spastics brand paint that he used. But how I actually do it, and that's sort of the system that SMS like bases off, I guess, is, you know, you do your primer, then you do a coat of your jet black base, then you'll do, well, they use like a silver, but I think it looks too flecky. So I use their hyperchrome paint, which is more of an iridescent sort of a chrome, like it actually looks chrome when you paint it. I use that as a base over the black, like a light coat, so you can still see the black sort of coming through.
Well, I bet that
and then
brightens it up too, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And then you hit it with the clear, you know, in that case, it was a clear aqua or teal for that S13. And like I said, there was a few boogers and a few imperfections in the paint, which I wasn't happy with. Just coming off the back of, you know, like you said in our phone conversation yesterday, sometimes you'll absolutely kill it and you'll blow the body, like you'll knock it clean out of the park. And then your next 3 or 4 paint jobs after that, it's like, what the fuck am I even doing with my life? Like, what's going on here?
Humbled. Lord, I've been humbled so many times. I was on such a high with the camo Dolph Mustang. I thought, like, man, I'm here. I'm finally here. And then commenced to screw up 5 shells right after that, back to back to back. Like,
Well, that was where I was at, and it had been a while since I'd actually brushed anything because of that. and I was like, shit, like I've lost my knack to do it. What's going on? And for me, I'm pretty sure I've nailed it now, but it was as simple as some air pressure adjustments on my compressor.
Yeah.
And that S13 was the first tester out the gate for, starting to do it again. And it turned out pretty sweet. But like I said, there was, spraying not in a booth, like just in my dusty, dirty garage. I do have a booth, but just didn't want to set it up. Had a few bits and pieces in the paint that I wasn't happy with, so I started to rub it back.
I'm in my booth.
Yeah, 100%.
And I need an airbrush. I'm the spray can man. That's where I'm at. But I mean that's what I've got going on.
And going back much towards, like, say, the purchase of the soldering iron and stuff like that. Like you say, you don't need expensive tools.
Yeah.
Much to say, like, if you're setting up a chassis and we've all been there. We've all bought cheap electronics, I suppose, but it pays to buy good stuff in that respect. But like, as far as soldering irons, and you don't have to have a fancy airbrush. Like, you've turned out some pretty killer paint jobs, like with spray cans.
Yeah.
And
it takes work, though. It takes work. It's not easy. I'll be honest with you.
It does.
Your biggest thing with some of these paint jobs is your prep and knowing how to prep.
100%.
The prep is more important, I feel like, than anything. And man, I don't know. All of it is a progression. Like all of it. Like I would have never tried to even solder that ESC like I did if I hadn't have already been on like number 17 of trying to do it. And even then I screwed up and it didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I get too for getting online and posting man, it paid off and all that crazy mess I talked. Like, dude,
well,
I guess it's
like
going to come out now, but there's not many people know about that.
Well, like you say, you got some tips from Steve Fess, and I don't think I've soldered a few of these now, and it's the first time I've ever soldered in my life coming into these micro chassis, and it scared the life out of me the first time I picked the iron up. And I just run a little butane iron until I get my new one, which I bought that specifically with that tip for the NESS chassis when it comes, because it's so small. But like you say, you don't have to spend big amounts of money on a tool. Like, you can get a basic tool. I'm just that guy that likes cool shit.
Well, you buy it right the first time, and you won't have to buy it again. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
I'm soldering with a El Cheapo from Lowe's, a Weller. It's not very expensive, but it does the job.
It does the job.
For these little guys. It does the job. It's more.
100%.
It's more of a technique thing. I would love if this thing was cordless, though. Don't get me wrong. That this cord has caused some problems.
It's versatile.
Oh yeah, I've got phone cables with burns in them and everything else, to where I'll move and knock something off and melt through it. And oh gosh, man,
100%. Yeah, no, I'm not good at soldering by any means, but like, I think I've gotten a lot better at it. And like, when we spoke about shortening, ESC wires, I was like, damn, I should go back do that. That was on the Meta X, I think. But I was like, that's the cleanest damn soldering job I've ever done. And
it's hard to undo it when it's working and it's good. It's hard to undo it.
Yeah, they're buggers to get off. But like, I suppose the technique I used, and the reason I picked the technique up is because I had a few wires break off of, two of my Furatech ESCs.
Yeah.
Actually, one of them. And then the second one, I started running the Reflex Racing, the hard case lipos.
Yeah.
And so I converted all my cars over to the bullet plugs, but I shortened the wires so that they have a nice clean look. And a couple of them I shortened way too short. So I went back and I had the confidence, after fixing the first ESC, I actually had the confidence to remove the wires from that ESC and resolder new ones on.
Yeah.
And how I done it was flux. And they say that if you're there any longer than a second, you're there for too long. And a little board like that, you're going to kill it. You're going to fry it.
Oh yeah.
The heat will kill it.
The same can be said about these little XT30s. Like, man, if you put too much heat on these things, they will absolutely move in that plastic. They won't line up, and they'll be hard to unplug and plug in. And I have learned, this is something else I do, Nick. I soldered, like, for your plug-ins, I soldered me one of these things up. It's all it is a they call it a heat sink. So I will plug
Yep.
in, my other end to it, and all this is some dummy thick wires off of a 10 scale car, and these will help conduct the heat away from the plug,
It
so
absorbs the heat.
it doesn't get crazy hot and want to melt the male leads inside and make them move. So
That's a great idea. That's
yeah,
awesome. I've never seen that.
yeah, man, it's a simple setup. There's nothing on the other end. One wire's cut shorter than the other, and I put some heat shrink on it just to make sure it doesn't touch anything, because this is the heat sink I have for my batteries. Because like I changed
Yep.
all of my batteries around at a certain point because I like these
Yeah.
XT30 connectors. They were easier for me to get my hands on and unplug. They are a little
Yep.
tighter of a fit, which I don't think is necessary for micro drift. You could probably do these little tiny white ones in micro drift and it just be just fine. I have found that these little tiny white ones in crawling, though, sometimes after a while of unplugging multiple batteries and so on and so forth, they'll like one of the pins will walk a little off to the side or something, and it won't
Yeah.
quite make the connection like it should. But
Yeah. Yeah. They're only very fragile, them things, aren't they?
yeah, I haven't had any trouble out of the XT30s. And the XT30s are super simple to solder. So usually
Yep.
your wire connectors, when they come from the factory, they've already got some solder on the end of them, and they're trimmed to a certain length. Well, that certain
Yep.
length will dive right off in these XT30s. Perfect. First try, no trimming, no nothing. Put you a little heat shrink on the end of the wire before you put it in there. Touch it to
Yep.
it, done. Yeah, man. So it's more of an easy thing for me. That's the reason I use those XT30s. But a good thing
Yeah.
about
Look, I feel you because, like, yeah, come winter time, like being in, the building industry, and my shitty skin, my fingers split. I
yeah,
think due to the cold weather and like playing with,
wood and
the
stuff, man.
material I play with.
Yeah,
Yeah. They split, and you like, man, sometimes it's a struggle to do anything. Like,
shoot,
you
yeah.
know,
Stick
so
your
those
hand in your
battery
pocket.
connectors.
Stick your hand in your pocket and go ah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, it's like, when I'm assembling cases like cupboards for work, for kitchens and stuff like that, you've got a tub of screws. So, like, 9 times out of 10, Murphy's Law, where something can go wrong, it will.
It
Like, you
will.
dip your hand into there to grab a screw out or a couple of screws, and you get the point of a screw straight in, the split on your finger. 9 times out of 10. But yeah, like, when I get to that point, I struggle to do much of anything that requires some kind of finesse, like, and those battery connectors, they do help because I suppose they're a little bit bulkier than most of the ones that you can get, and they're just that little bit easier to hold and separate.
Yeah, and having that little pocket to stick the wire in definitely
Yeah.
helps that stuff hold when the solder finally gets in there. You can be a mediocre solder guy and still get those things to work if because it goes
Yeah,
in that
because
little
they got that little
sleeve.
half moon sleeve thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
they're definitely handy. It's a funny story actually. When I first converted over to those bullet plugs for the reflex batteries, and you see guys had these like right angled pins, like the wire coming into the pin on a right angle, and the connectors that came with the batteries never. And like I said, I knew nothing about it. It was the first time I dealt with bullet plugs before. But you can get them with that same notch in the side. These
Yeah.
ones just didn't have it. And I ruined so many pins trying to bend them. And in the end, someone was like, no. It's a specific pin you can buy that has the cutout in the side of it. I was like, oh, shit. So then, I got the Dremel out and I just cut little slots in the sides of the ones that I had. I did order some more because
Yeah.
I had lots of batteries, lots of connections to do. But I just Dremeled the side wall of the pin out to run the wire into it on an angle. But yeah, it's funny, you learn things, don't you, as you go.
Yeah, man.
It teaches you something new every day.
These groups teach me so much because like I see so many great ideas and so many talented people that build all these little things. And yeah, man, I've learned a lot just by being in the groups. It's a valuable tool, man, to
Yep,
just be in a
100%.
group of people that love something so much and that are willing to share and give their time and their effort. And yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing, that's for sure. Man,
Yeah, yep.
I love helping people. I don't mind it one bit. I've had a few people message me here recently that have messaged me a lot, and One of them
Yep.
was like, "Yeah, I'm trying not to bother you, this, that, and the other." Man, you ain't bothering me. Like I enjoy to be bothered. I'm
Yeah. Let's
you
have
know,
a chat. Yeah.
my senior year in high school, where you had the senior superlatives, where everybody you get the most attractive and the most athletic and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got most talkative. Ain't that some crap?
Yeah.
Like at the time, I was like, "What? Come on!" Like I should have got most attractive. I'm just kidding, but I'm just saying, like it was. But there's a lot of truth to that because I do like to talk. I like to talk to people. I like to converse
Yeah.
with people. Man, there's some beautiful people in this world, man.
Yeah. You can learn a lot about a person. But like, as far as helping people in the hobby goes, like you want to help them, you want them to experience that joy of, like I've had RCs most of my life on and off. Never anything quite like a 124 drifter.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
It's a
yeah,
whole nother ball game for sure.
believe me, anyone watching this that doesn't have one that's looking at getting one, you won't just buy one. You won't. I started out and I sat there on the fence and I looked and looked and looked and looked and I narrowed it down to a couple, which was the DRZ and the Drift Art. I was like, they seem to be the two main hitters at this point, and stuff it. We'll go the Drift Art. I wanted it to be right. I wanted it to be the right chassis because I wasn't going to buy another one.
Right.
Okay, so I bought this sucker. I set it up. Coming from a Mini Z all-wheel drive, which I'd kitted right out. It had like the locked rear, the front one-way differential. I think it had different, like your camber knuckles on it. Like I spent a ton of money on this thing, and it was cool, but like it's not true drift.
No.
And yeah, I got this Drift Art, and it was like I was near ripping my hair out. Once I got the thing going, I couldn't slide it. Turned out I think the gyro was reversed, and didn't know how to play with the gyro again and all that sort of stuff. But, I had a few members in the group sort of give me pointers and give me tips. And one of them was, and I didn't think it would matter, but upon assembly, like a couple of the front ball cups for the front arms, one arm would go up and down, smooth and free. The other one had a little bit of resistance, and they were like, "Yeah, you're going to want to fix that." And I was like, "Really? Is that going to affect it?"
Sensitive,
Everything affects
Lord,
it.
these things are sensitive, dude. Like seriously, I swear,
But like
I
that joy,
swear to you, Nick. Last year, when I was running these things in my grandmother's garage while I was taking care of her, which I'm fixing to move into that house, and that's going to be where I'm living here soon. But when I was there, when the turn of the seasons came around, I don't
yep,
know if it had something to do with the humidity. I don't know if it had something to do with the temperature. But I swear to you, I had to change some of my setup tune just because the weather started to change. They're so
yeah,
sensitive. These things are just crazy
they are.
sensitive to every aspect you think. Weight, temperature, like it's insane how sensitive they
Yeah.
are.
They are, but like that, when you get it right, when you nail the setup, when you nail the tune, and you have like your first couple of slides, it's like, damn,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a
And,
special thing. You're
and
like,
that's definitely one reason why I think we all like to help too. Is
you
man,
want
I
people
want
to
everybody. I
experience
want
that. And
everybody to feel that. I do. I want everybody to feel it. I have no secrets. If you see a video of mine and say, "Man, your DLR8 is sliding way better than mine," like, man, hit me up.
let's talk. Yeah,
I'll give you every measurement I got. I'll send you every picture I can. I'll give you every tip I can. Like, I have no secrets in micro drift. I'm an
yep,
open book. So,
yep. See,
but
I'm pretty janky with my tuning, but I tune it till it's right for me,
yeah,
and it feels good for me. And like you say, they're that sensitive to everything. Some days you'll slide it, and then you'll come back and you'll slide it a week later, and you're like, oh, I don't remember it being like that.
yeah.
So you
Well,
tinker again and you
you and I,
tune again, and
you and I talked about this a lot about the atomic. The atomic, I feel like the atomic MS, for whatever reason, I've got it now. I've got it now. Don't get me wrong. This thing is bulletproof now, but I struggled with that thing for a long
yep,
time. Like just a bunch of little stuff here and there that didn't make any sense. And I would pick it back up after driving another car for a week or two, and I'd pick it back up, and the deadgum ball studs would need to be massaged and mashed again just to get
yeah.
just to free it up. And like, that thing fought me for a little while. I ain't even gonna lie. I
Yeah,
love
it
it.
was one of my least favourite chassis once I built it. It sat in my little nook
Yeah.
where I display all my cars for ages with no body, and I didn't want to work on it. I didn't want to tune it, and I don't know. It just seemed really hard to drive. It was really tail happy, like.
Yeah.
And then one
Yeah,
of the other things that
front,
annoyed the shit out of me was
the front geometry on it is different. I don't know what it is. I like running my cars without a ton of toe out in the front. I don't know why. I think it's more realistic to what like real cars would be, driving, and not saying like real drift cars, but like real cars, like my real Mustang, whatever.
real street
And
cars like it. Yeah.
it was just unnatural to me to put a bunch of toe out in the thing. You know what I'm saying? And that chassis just has to have it. There's just no two ways about it. And I've gotten more comfortable after building that chassis. My DLR8 has got some toe out to it right now.
Yeah.
It's not like a massive amount, but I mean it's got it. But man,
it's a noticeable small amount. Yeah.
Good Lord, look at the. Is that not just beautiful?
Yeah,
Dude, that is
nice.
a sliding machine right there. Really impressed with
I can't wait.
You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it a lot, man. It's this honestly right now, it's fixing to be one of my favorites. I feel like it reminds me of the DWXF. I've said that before, but this thing slides with more angle than any other car that I put together, and that is the other MAs included. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I was actually going to savor that one. I was going to keep it in the box and save it for a rainy day, but I don't think I can.
you
the Meta, the OG Meta was, I don't know how. I think I had it in the box in my little stash for maybe, I'm going to say it was 3 to 4 months before I built it. And I don't know why, but I just sat it there and I wasn't that enthused about it. And then once I built it and slid it, I was like, yeah, okay. I see why everyone raves on about it.
Chris Lewis used to tell me that he had like 4 or 5 in boxes waiting to be built and this, that, and I can't do it, man. I can't do it knowing it's there. I've got to work on it. Like I wasn't even going to build this Meta. I told myself I wasn't going to build the Meta X right out the gate because I had so much going on in my personal life. I was going to put it down for a little while and just focus on some other stuff and not have the hobby kind of drag me away from real life for a little bit. And I couldn't do it. The thing's sitting in a box on my table. And that's all I think about. It's like, I got to get that thing. I got to get home and do another step. I got to get home and do another step. It's like such a disease.
Looking at you funny.
Oh my gosh. Any of y'all out there that got the Meta X2, go ahead and get you a 0.7 millimeter driver. I know you probably feel like you maybe shouldn't have to buy tools for a chassis that costs that much, but it's going to help you out in the long run with the little grub screws and stuff. I've kind of nitpicked the chassis. It is a good sliding chassis. Don't get me wrong.
It's just what you've got to go through to set it up to get it there, I suppose.
Dwight and I were talking about it earlier. I think what really just kind of it coming out at the same time as this and it coming behind the ice blue Meta, it just didn't get there. It just didn't get there in my head. I was expecting an improvement on ice blue Meta, and right now ice blue Meta is still in the lead in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Some of y'all might think completely different, and that's okay. Everybody usually says they hate the green chassis that I love so much, but I don't care. I love it. You know what I mean? So
you love it. That's all that matters.
To each their own. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're doing something different does not mean it's wrong. But
like there's dudes out there that love the Meta X. I think it was just, I don't know. Like I like a challenge, but I suppose certain aspects of the build, doing a step and then having to pull that step apart to do the next step and fit it to the chassis plate it's
a quality chassis. It's a quality chassis. The shocks are amazing. The parts are amazing. The machining is amazing. The anodizing. Like I said, I just nitpicked it. I've nitpicked it, and I don't know why. I guess it was because I was expecting. Like I said, I was expecting.
You got high expectations naturally.
Yeah. But it's a great chassis. It's a great chassis to have. I'm glad I've got a couple. I've actually got one that I will probably get rid of. I've been toying with the idea of maybe doing a giveaway.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, man. I've been toying with the idea. If we can get some traction on this small talk and get a loyal following and maybe later on down the road as this goes, because I've got her up here.
Get so many members and do a giveaway. Yeah,
well,
cool.
I'm gonna post this on the Small Scale RC page on YouTube, and you know, just keep coming, doing it like that. You know, it's just kind of easier than having to set up a whole other page. But yeah, brand new in the box. I did open it to make sure that it was
All the OP and everything, huh?
everything was there in case I had to maybe send it back or whatnot and get some extra parts. But it's got the option parts, it's got the option ball studs, it's got
Ooh,
man,
nice.
I got a few of these up here and I haven't even messed with it yet. I built one and I've got 2 more, and since I don't even know how it happened, but it happened. So I'm probably going to keep 2. That was the plan all along, and I'm going to stick to the plan.
Yep.
My thing is, I've wanted 2 of all of my heavy hitters. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why.
100%.
That way I can do the motor on the back on one, motor in the front on another. Have the same chassis, but set up a different way. I think some of these chassis shine set up differently. Uh-oh.
Yep.
Hey, guys. But, yeah, man, the family's just walked in, and I think I'm gonna get off here too, dude. Just been a good episode right here. First, right out the gate. I love it. So yeah.
In true fashion, I've come late.
That's all right. That's all right, bro. What time is it over there right now?
Right now it is 8:15.
Yeah.
8:15 a.m.
You're still early in the morning, man. It's 6 o'clock in the afternoon over here. So, man, you're forgiven. Hey, maybe we can do it an hour later than what we've been talking about. That way, it makes it easier for us too. 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
if that's easy for you guys too, yeah, it's win-win all round. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, we'll do it. But man,
brilliant.
Good small talk, man. So
yep, awesome.
Same time, same place next week.
Beautiful. Look forward to it.
Good, brother. I love it, man. Have a good one, man.
See you, mate. You too.
I do you, baby. I gotta turn this thing off somehow.